Hello and welcome to 73 and Sunny, the podcast about the journey of getting things just right. We talk to tech, sales, and marketing leaders about how they're growing, dialing in best practices, and getting closer to that sweet spot. Today, we're very happy to have Debbie Conrad join us. Debbie is the head of new business development for the Lead Group and is also a founding member and advisory board member for LinkUnite. Welcome to 73 and Sunny, Debbie.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. So I know that this weekend was Mother's Day, and I know that you're a mother. So thank you very much for all the great work that you and all mothers out there do, and happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to you.
Thank you very much. I have two kids. So one just came home from college on Friday, and then I have a 16-year-old daughter who's very active in track, lacrosse, and upcoming in finishing her sophomore year. So very busy times right now.
It's very busy times. My wife and I, we have 4 kids, and one of our daughters plays lacrosse, and she just came home from college, junior year in college, on Saturday. So it was good to have a full house. So
For sure.
It's great to have everyone home, but it's also, there's different dynamics, right? Different dynamics with having all the kids home, and I'm sure that also changes things in terms of moms who are also professionals, and I know that that's one of the things that LinkUnite was actually created for, and I'd love to know a little bit more about LinkUnite and how they support women in the performance and digital marketing space.
Sure. So LinkUnite was basically founded when we were at LeadsCon in Boston, probably about 7 years ago. Amanda Ferris Ceramello and myself, we were sitting after one day at the show and just realizing how important it is to have a connection. So when you travel and you are away from your real life world and you're trying to make sense of what's going on and actually get a productive conference out, you need to find people who you're going to relate to and make sure that they're going to be there for you and kind of be a tribe, not necessarily to help bounce ideas off of. They can tell you like who you should maybe work with or who you should connect with, but also just in case you need someone to be with. It's just, I traveled quite a bit by myself. And so I find myself for the Lead Group going to various shows. And when LinkUnite started and has been around the last 2+ years, it's been very, very helpful for myself and other women, that when you go somewhere that you can reach out and you always have someone that can be in a room if you don't know anyone. It's just super helpful. It makes you feel safe and comfortable. And also I get excited. I mean, it's not only work, but also now we've made friends and lifelong friends that will be there for you and also help you grow in your career.
That's fantastic. And I, unfortunately, I just haven't even thought about that. I haven't even thought about it, probably because I'm just another one of these guys in a polo shirt or in a puffer vest or whatever, and I haven't even thought about that. What are and I'm so glad that now there's a forum in LinkUnite for ladies and women all over to be able to unite and to have this group. Tell me a little bit more about some of the benefits that LinkUnite can provide to some of its members.
Sure. So there's various programs right now. One of the big programs that we're doing right now is Mentor Program. So it partners up someone within our industry with another woman who's been around a little bit longer, maybe, or has more skill set that they can offer to them. And it goes through just various, they work one-on-one to help grow the woman, to help her get the skills that she needs to advance in her career. Another part of LinkUnite, which is great, is if someone is maybe looking for a new role or wants to grow in her company, we have various people that can help show them or advise them on what the next steps are, or even give them a new job too. It's very exciting. And, when someone does jump to somewhere else or they're out of a job and they land a role within LinkUnite, it's pretty special.
That is fantastic. And you had mentioned a new role. Helping women with new roles. I know that you've been in the lead space for the better part of a decade, but you transitioned to that from from the buyer side, from basically from the retail buyer side, which is a huge transition. So, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me, what advice you would have for people who are looking at making a big leap or a big change in what they're doing for work.
Yeah, so my world was completely different. Like you said, I was a buyer for Target headquarters for a while, and then I also was a buyer for like a jewelry company out of Kansas City. So when the company closed, actually, everyone has always said that I should be in sales, and which is kind of a scary position because you never know exactly like what you're going to be. You could be straight commission. You don't know what everything's going to happen. So, they very politely have said that I have a good way to get people to basically maybe do what I want in a very nice, effective manner. So I was like, all right, I will try to make the jump. So coming from the other side though, too, I know what people are looking for, and it's like everyone, even in my retail world and now in this affiliate marketing and on my lead group side, there's so many people that are doing the same thing. And so it's very important that you find relationships or clients that are going to work with you, be transparent, honest, and are going to be there to help figure out ways to grow your business together. So I think that's one of the big things of making my jump is that, and for where I find that I have strong partnerships that have been able to stick around, which I love.
So help. What are some strategies that you've had in terms of having those partnerships last for the better part of 7-8 years? What are some of the tips or tricks that you might have for people?
Well, I mean, I think it's very important to not just consider someone as like publisher ABC. I mean, I can tell you yesterday I had 3 or 4 of my publishers reach out to tell me Happy Mother's Day, which really meant a lot, So
That's nice.
I think it's about getting to know the person because, that's what kind of matters more than, I mean, of course, we all want to grow revenue and things like that as well. But it's also helpful if you can be like, hello, John, it's great that you're in, the Chiefs are playing this, the Chargers next week. Let's place a little bet on it or something like that, But then everyone's trying to get, I'm trying to get as much traffic as we can. I'm trying to get as many, strong partnerships. But as long as you have some kind of connection, it's very helpful. It's also good, I believe, to meet in person if you can once or twice a year. I feel like once you get that in-person connection, it just really matters more than when you're just, emailing or Skyping or Slacking or whatever you're doing to try to keep in touch. I feel like communication over the internet may not be always the most effective way to do things.
I totally agree. I think there's a lot of misinterpretation, especially over email communication or any written type of communication. We're not great at that. So to be able to connect with people live, or even, this is, the Zoom culture that we are in the Zoom age, I think, but it's really not, it's not the same as sitting down, meeting with someone, being able to shake hands or have lunch and break bread with someone. And, having those connections are built on those personal touches, whether it's, reaching out, saying Happy Mother's Day, or talking about I'm not going to even talk about the Chiefs. I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I'm a 49ers fan. I'm hurt. I'm still hurt. So we're not even gonna talk about that. So, but I totally get it. It's having people do business, right? It's about the people and having that sweet spot. So we all know that hey, we have to do. Businesses are who we have to go after in terms of funding and opportunities, but it's the people that make that happen. And I think that's a huge piece of it that I think that sometimes we miss, and I think that we've gotten away from since COVID, right? I think that people are
The other thing I always say too, which is kind of funny, is I'm always like, if someone's running traffic one day and all of a sudden they stop, I'm like, my boyfriend broke up with me, I'm like, oh gosh, I got to get him back, and I'm like, okay, whatever it takes, I got to write letters, send flowers, whatever to see where they're going to come, because we it's an interesting world. We work with our competitors too, so competitor can also be one of your accounts, and which kind of makes it interesting because not other industries, I feel like, don't have the same aspect. But I'm a big believer in if you are doing things the right way, if you are doing things transparently, if you are meeting with your publishers or your buyers or once or twice a month and actually looking at data and different ways that you can increase your business, or if there's other things that they might be doing with someone else and they bring up to you that would work, that's very beneficial.
I completely agree with that. And just it's not only starting those relationships and getting those relationships, but it's about it is maintaining those and growing those, which is tough, because then you're trying to kind of, push people. Hey, listen, how you had mentioned sales is scary, and that reminded me of an axiom that I was told a long time ago. It's how can I help you by getting what I want? And it's like it's hey, I'm helping you, but I'm also getting what I want. So you have to weave, you have to kind of weave that thread to be able to say, what is beneficial to you and what is beneficial to your customer or client. In terms of the growth mindset, in terms of growing customers, because we all know that getting new customers is so difficult today. And once you get a customer, to be able to hold on to that is so much more cost effective and so much more beneficial than spending resources getting more customers. What is some advice that you might have in terms of maintaining and growing your customers, maybe outside of lunching or meeting twice a year?
Right. So I feel like as long as you work together to find out for sure, like what's their expected EPC, what are some other sources based off their other sub IDs that we can maximize sales, really is beneficial.
I'm sorry, Debbie, for people that don't know EPC.
Yes, earning per click.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and then of course, you may have 40 different accounts, but it's usually the top 10 that are the ones that are driving most of revenue. So, and it is hard to find new accounts that are going to stay and be solid and not just disappear. So or make sure that it's valid, make sure it's valid traffic, make sure it's a valid person. I get so many Skypes or that are coming out there where you never know sometimes. So it's, having the correct vetting process, making sure when someone starts that my team is ready, that we're optimizing correctly on the back end. We're aware of the KPIs that is going to make this account work and stick.
I love that. Love that advice. And do you feel, I know that you've been in the space for quite some time, in your tenure, both on the buyer side for Target and then on the lead generation side, what have you seen change? What have you seen? Because it's supply and demand, but I don't know if we've had this type of these walls up like we do today. Like what have you seen change from maybe even, like, let's just say pre-pandemic in 2018, 2019? What have you seen change even from that time?
I think before COVID, people were a little bit more lenient on certain aspects of working together. I feel like after COVID now, there's not as much. Now you have to really try whatever you can to make sure that you're getting the correct clients, even though you were before, but there may not be that many options.
And what do you think is, why do you think that is? Is it just because there's so many companies that had to shutter during COVID, or is it just the dynamics of dealing with salespeople and trying to understand customers who are now, I think I just saw something that, that the decision of a buyer, it's now up to like 90 something % before they even want to talk to a seller.
I know. Well, also, I think a lot right now, especially, I think everything is so expensive. So I feel like, you maybe had people who were trying to start their own things or, pre-COVID or, and then unfortunately may have had to close down. I think no matter where you go, I know fast food prices are up, groceries are up, gas is up, everything it's very hard for the average consumer to spend their money. And so they're going to find, the best, cheap, not necessarily cheapest, but I would say, wherever they're going to use their dollar, it's going to be more thought out than it was before.
I'm seeing that all the time. I'm seeing that not only professionally, but personally as well. Everything is getting a lot more expensive. So, especially with 2 kids or 4 kids, it is just
college. Yes, for sure.
College and high school, everything. Yes, it's getting very, very expensive. So, Debbie, you were talking about, how to grow accounts and how to make accounts how to personalize relationships and how to make sure that you're on top of things. What's the best customer experience or client relationship that you've ever had where you were the client? What made it so special?
Well, I can tell you, like when I first started, I can remember my very first phone call, and it was with myself and one of our owners and another client. And so I remember getting off the phone call and being like, I have no idea what that was about, and then so he actually took the time, the client did, to call me back. And he, his name is Guy Solomon, and he's still one of my, we don't work together directly anymore, but we still are very good friends, and we help each other out very much still moving forward. So he basically took the time to call me back and explain kind of what was happening and what, is to show me in my world now what I need to do to be effective. And I've used his advice. And also I will reach out, or he'll reach out if I'm asking about someone or he's asking about someone, or if there's just any questions I might have, he might know an answer, or at least direct me to someone who does, which is very helpful. Mm-hmm. Because even though we're not necessarily working together in a relationship right now, we still always are there to bounce ideas. And if we are at a conference, we try to make a point to always see each other too, which is very nice.
Yeah. Going back to the conference piece that you just brought up, I was listening to someone just in the last week who was talking about, hey, if you're going to these conferences, what's the best place to be? Like, where should you place yourself? Because a lot of these are pretty uncomfortable, especially if you don't know people. And Debbie, you were saying that you're there alone most of the time, and I travel to conferences alone as well. It's no fun, or you're having to start up a conversation. And it was interesting. They said they did mapping for a conference, and they did actually where people were having conversations, the duration of those conversations, the quality of those conversations, with surveys afterwards. And a lot of people who are uncomfortable in some of these conferences will stand by the entrance to say, I'm going to talk to all these people that are coming in. But apparently that's the worst place where you could stand, because people, right when they're walking in, they're wanting to understand, their eyes widen, and they're trying to look and trying to see everything, and like, oh my goodness, where's the food? Where are my vendors? Where are my partners? Where's my competition? Where's all these? And then if you're at the front of this, it was the shortest conversations where at the entrance to these conversations, or to these conferences, where they found that the best and deepest and most successful conversations were at the exit of the bar, because a lot of the people were coming in, they wanted to get their bearings straight, they're not comfortable, and they're just doing the and they're kind of looking past you, trying to see if they know anyone else there. Well, hey, nice connecting, I got to go get a drink. And people, once they get a drink, then you are basically the savior, because now you have a drink in your hand, and people are looking around, and they're like, now I'm ready for a conversation. And if you can find people right after that, it's just an interesting tip that I found, that I'd never even thought of in terms of, conference, placement and how to make the most out of some of these conversations.
No, I agree. I mean, we're all a little sick of Vegas, I think, for sure. But and the chandelier bar. But anytime you're there, and if it does help, if you have something in your hand anytime, I think it's always kind of it makes you a little less uncomfortable. But yeah, I'm at the booth a lot, so being at a booth too is where I am a big believer on. You have to be out front of your booth, because no one's going to stop if you're not paying attention, and you're sitting, or not really looking at the person who's walking by. So that part of it's great. I also believe what you say too about going to the bar area, and there's always people there, but you just have to put yourself out there, because there's always going to be someone that you can talk to. And there's always going to be someone that is hopefully going to be able to help you. And, you meet the most exciting, smartest people I've ever met in my whole entire life in this industry. And it's just really fun, and I love it.
I have been to a couple of leads conferences, and they're great. They're a little crazy, and they're very, very frenetic, but they're great. And so I'm glad that you were able to get with some people after one of these conferences and kind of start LinkUnite. So that's great. Let's maybe take a transition from the the goodness of the space, and some of the great things that you've been doing with the lead group and with LinkUnite. And let's talk about some of the things that people should be aware of. And because I think that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of fraud in this space, and I'm sure that you deal with your clients all the time trying to combat this. What advice do you have for people, or just actually let's start with this space. What are you seeing in terms of fraud in this space today?
There's quite a bit of fraud going on, unfortunately, still. So, we take time that you have to make sure that you actually get on a phone call with someone. They can Skype you, or they can reach out via LinkedIn, but they could, be very much invalid traffic. So that's my first step, is just to make sure that they actually get on a phone call. And if they say they can't get on a phone call, that's a big red flag. So yeah, or another one too is some Gmail addresses, or, just making sure they actually have a company address that you can look up and see if it's legit. And then once you do go through the whole vetting process, we've got a vetting process on our end, but once someone starts, it's just literally hopping on the phone, or we actually, just to make sure the leads are actually valid. So, we might have our legal team pick up the phone and call, or you might have, checking on to make sure that there's applications actually being filled out, or, that it's not 100% desktop traffic. There's certain things that you can look at on your end beforehand, or right when someone starts, to make sure that it's not all fraud. Because, when the publisher starts and it could be fraud, it also affects our buyers too. So it flows all the way down to not just, right away when someone starts with invalid traffic.
It's a great point. And I know a lot of companies are struggling, trying to get the sweet spot, 73 and sunny, trying to get to that sweet spot of capturing as many leads as possible, but also, it's a volume versus quality, right? It's hey, I want as much volume as possible. So maybe I do want to capture some of those Gmails, Yahoos, AOLs, whatever it might be, but I want to up the quality of those. And I know that there's, form fill, there's some rules that you can have, that if you have a Gmail domain or something like that, then you can ask for secondary or tertiary questions. But what advice do you have for companies that are struggling right now? As we said, there's a lot of companies that are struggling to get new logos. And how do you weigh that? How do you help them get the most of those new logos, while at the same time not constricting the pipeline so much where they're getting choked?
What do you mean by logos exactly?
So new customers, new business opportunities. If you're getting an opportunity, but someone is putting in that it's a Gmail or a Yahoo, whereas instead of a business.
Yeah, sorry, I meant more like when the publisher actually wants to sign up and they don't have a company. Like, it's like where they're like John@gmail.com is trying to sign up. So that's where I'm saying yes.
Right. And so people are trying to get the John@gmail.com because quote unquote, it's a lead. And I don't want to turn, as a performance marketer, I don't want to turn away any leads, because I want to show that I have, I've generated all these leads. But then I look at them and none of them have converted, or like a high percentage have dropped out, or have no-showed, or, as you said, like if you can't get them on the phone, it's not a real lead. They're not going to be buying something. So right. What's the balance there? How do you try to get as much as possible, but then also, be the bouncer at the club or the chandelier bar, as you said, and say, no, we're not going to let you in because you have a Gmail address?
Well, that's not necessarily. We take time, and we make sure that we say that, it's going to take 4 to 5 business days to even get any true data in to get a good read on it. So it does take time. It works for both of us, for the publisher and for us, to work together when it starts, and to know that it's not just going to be one drop. You just don't want some email account to, do one drop and then stop the next day. It's based on, we need at least a week or 2 weeks to really get things to work.
Right. And then are there follow-ups that you would recommend in terms of, I know you had mentioned calls, but is there any cadence or anything that are there playbooks for follow-ups with these, instead of just, waiting? Some people are more patient, some people are less patient in terms of these.
Yeah. So you can tell, like I said, you can go tell if the applications are actually getting filled out. That's another good indicator. You can tell if it's what type of traffic it is. If it's 100% desktop, that's usually a good indicator. There's other certain areas that we look at on our side to find out when someone starts if it is going to be valid, and which category we put them in. We have different ones where it could be our top tier, middle tier. It all just varies on what's running.
But I totally get that, and it's always this is the tough space. This is why we're having these conversations, is because there's no one formula, one silver bullet that works for anyone for all the time. So Debbie, any other advice, any other learnings that you would like to share with our audience?
I mean, I would also just say, like, when someone does start, and they want to, all of a sudden they send like thousands of records on the first day. That is another thing to pay attention to. Normally that does not going to work. You need to kind of limit it for the first week or so until it's backing out for both them and for yourself. So I think that's super important as well.
It is absolutely important. So thank you for joining.
I just want to say, sorry, real quick. I just want to say, as being a woman and I've got a lot of energy and I love this space, but like, if anyone ever has any questions or wants to reach out or is at a show by themselves, I'm usually always there, or else I know someone who's there and very helpful. And I would love to be able to connect them if I'm not there, or at least meet them and say hello too, because it is scary. And as just starting out, it's a little overwhelming, and it's a big chaotic industry, but I'm very happy to be a part of it, and I love it.
Debbie, thank you very much. That's very generous of you, and thank you very much for joining us today. And again, if any of our listeners have any needs, not only at shows or connecting with people, or any needs in the lead generation, affiliate marketing, or fintech partnership space, feel free to connect with Debbie on LinkedIn or check out theleadgroup.com. Debbie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.